Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones. From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here at prisonplanet.tv for the next hour and 51 minutes of the 4-hour radio show we do live every weekday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 hours live. But again, we go live in the last 2 hours of the radio show at prisonplanet.tv for all the folks watching out there on the Internet. We're also developing this show for cable and satellite television in the next few months, as well as another TV program that we are developing here out of the same studios. We're joined for the next 50 minutes by Kevin Ryan. Kevin Ryan, of course, was an engineer working in underwriting laboratories and discovered internal studies that had been done by the underwriters, which is underwriting laboratories of the towers, that clearly showed that fire could not have brought those buildings down the way that the government was claiming. So he tried to get them to go public. They wouldn't. He wrote a letter to them publicly about it, and they fired him. So I think it's better for Kevin Ryan to introduce himself, some of his background, the saga he's been through, and the amazing research he's done, not just into thermite and thermate and explosives, and the testing of that, but who at NIST is involved in the cover-up. They just so happen to be thermate experts in their own right, with NASA and other groups for missile coupler separation seals and a lot more. So and it's been about 6 months since he dropped those original bombshells here on air. He, of course, works with architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth and other groups, and we are very, very honored to have Kevin Ryan on the show with us today. Kevin, good to talk to you again.
Hi, Alex. It's good to be with you again.
You bet. You got the floor. Describe a little bit about yourself, kind of a recap of this quest you've been on and what it's led you to today and the latest developments.
Okay. I was, as you said, fired from Underwriters Laboratories, and that was over 4 years ago in 2004. And I had been questioning them for about a year or so about the fire resistance testing that they did 40 years before for the World Trade Center towers. They had done fire resistance testing of the steel components used to build the World Trade Center towers, and the CEO had told us about it, and I had spoken with the fire resistance testing manager at the time about it, and they were reluctant to share that information publicly. So we were asking myself and one or two others in the UL about that testing and why the towers could possibly have failed from fire as a result, and couldn't get any answers from the upper management. So I went ahead and wrote a letter to the National Institute of Standards and Technology after I saw one of their draft reports, which I think we've seen now over the years leave a lot lacking. The NIST reports are completely false. Each one of them has been false, and they've contradicted each other. But when they first put out a draft report in October 2004, I wrote them a letter that got me fired from Underwriters Laboratories, where I was laboratory manager and the top manager for one of their divisions. I've since done a lot of writing and research on 9/11, become the co-editor of the Journal of 9/11 Studies with Stephen Jones a few years ago. I am a member of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. We also have a local group here where I live called the 9/11 Working Group. And so I do a lot of writing and research, presentations around the country, and whatever I can to get the truth out about 9/11.
why did you first question the collapse of the towers as an engineer? And then let's walk through the evidence of cover-up, trying to suppress you and others, and kind of a recap of the evidence that has come out that continues to make a compelling case for controlled demolition, and then the new research that's been developed that is, well, in a whodunit sense, bombshell. But then this isn't a whodunit. This isn't, some PBS mystery theater. This is the real world. This is inside job material, and this shakes the very foundation of our world to its core.
Well, yeah, and the reason I first started questioning it was for, I think, a number of the reasons that you do what you do, Alex, and trying to get the word out and getting people prepared for a pretty big transition here in society. And, it's coming. There's nothing we can really do about it, but it is important to be aware of the facts of what has happened over the last few years and try to prepare ourselves for the future. And so, the first things that I noticed were if this steel has been tested for fire resistance for a number of hours, in fact, in furnaces at temperatures that exceeded the temperatures that we all agreed actually existed in the towers, then how could the towers have failed from fire? Those questions were not answered, and they still have not been answered. The NIST group has done a lot of tap dancing about the issue, and they've given us a number of false stories.
I was about to say, they're constantly changing their story. It's always something new, and now they are admitting free fall of Building 7. They're having to admit molten steel. I mean, the laws of science are against them.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And so, ultimately they do have to admit all those things. But there was a presentation that was occurring since 2002 when they started their report, their investigation, and then this year when they finally put out the World Trade Center 7 report. It was always kind of a piecemeal presentation, almost as if they were asking us, do you believe this? They'd have a public media presentation. They say, what about this?
Trial balloons.
Yeah. And some of us, like myself, would speak up and say, hey, no, that's not going to work. And then they'd come up with something different. And with World Trade Center 7 is nothing more blatant than that. I mean, they came up with the diesel fuel story. It was certainly the diesel fuel, and all of the major media reported this over and over again. Or it was the scooped out theory, the towers had fallen.
And they've now reversed themselves on all of that, or then it was shoddy construction when the building was overbuilt, as you know. Have you seen the new video with Brian Williams on there interviewing the deputy fire chief, one of the commanders, who says, well, we were ready to bring it down. There was talk of us bringing it down ourselves. I mean, how many videos does it take of police and firemen saying the feds were getting ready to bring it down? I mean, not just Silverstein. I mean, do we have to have like a footage of Bush with a plunger?
Right. The extent of the cover-up is really so incredible. And I think that's part of the value of 9/11 Truth. I'm interested in how this much deception could have been carried on for so long, and how each of us as the listeners of this story, kind of participated, or some of us, in allowing it to be just a huge lie for so long. So I'm interested in that sort of thing as well, but mainly the physical research that we're doing now has to do with the alternative hypothesis, and now really the only, not only hypothesis, but theory, since it's got so much evidence, the demolition theory, or what I call the deceptive demolition theory, so that people don't forget that it's really based on deception.
Now, this is like the theory of gravity. It's been proven, but they kind of call it a law, but it started out as a theory. The public thinks conspiracy and theory, that number one, there's no government conspiracies, though history's full of them. And, Nixon got in trouble for a government conspiracy. And then they said there's no such thing as theories. Well, we know the official theory of why these towers turned into matchsticks and dust. We know that's a fraud. So we set about going, okay, what does the evidence show is the most probable hypothesis? And there you have it.
Right, and it's not going to be extremely simple. It's not going to be simply the question of whether planes brought the buildings down, or somebody just decided to do a typical demolition of the World Trade Center towers. That's not the question. The question is, did the planes bring the buildings down, which we know is not true, or did somebody fly planes into the buildings in order to present the idea that the planes brought the buildings down while doing a deceptive demolition? And so if we keep all that in mind, part of the deception is having fire exist where it would not have otherwise existed. Other parts are creating fire in the elevator shafts that is so extreme that would weaken the core of the buildings. And also very likely, from what we've heard from testimony, explosions in the basements as well.